Hi, guys. This is Tina Lorraine, your certified abundant love coach, and I'm coming on briefly to share about being single is not a stigma, part two. And this is a series called Successfully Single because I am all about celebrating every aspect and every part of your life. There's nothing that God wants in your life for you to be miserable about. So sometimes with being single, we can look at that as a stigma. We've been conditioned to believe that it is a stigma, and it's so not. So this series will be about changing your mind or renewing your mindset about being single. So I'm just going to share briefly today about some stigmas around being single. And we're just going to look at one of them. And one of them is, well, first of all, let me define what a stigma is, just in case. A stigma is a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance or quality or person. So we've come to believe as a society, or we might have been conditioned to believe that being single is a some type of negative thing. And I am a spirit-led life coach, so I do believe in God. And don't you think that God knows that you're single? Do you think that there's a reason that you're being punished for it? Because I surely don't. It's not a stigma. Yes, God did create us to be social creatures. And yes, he did create Adam and Eve, if you believe in the Bible or whatever spiritual precept you do believe in. Yes, he did. But you also have to remember that even Adam and Eve had time alone with God before they were brought to one another. You might say, Tina, no, they didn't. Yes, they did. Adam was by himself before Eve was made. And then when he made Eve, he put Adam to sleep. So they were whole and they were whole in God and had time with God before they were joined together. So I kind of want to talk about one of the stigmas around being single. And it's, there's this assumption that you're miserable. And some of you may say, well, Tina, I am miserable. I am miserable. And I say to that, well, we have to look at your mind. Let's just take a look at it. Being miserable. You might say, yes, I am. And I would say, why are you miserable? I'm going to give you some things to see if this is you. And if it's you, then you can book a session with me and we'll talk about more about that after this live, toward the end of this live. So you might say, I'm miserable. And I'm going to tell you that more than likely you're miserable because you've been conditioned to believe that you're not valuable or that you're not worth much unless you're inside of a relationship. So in other words, if you're a woman, you feel like a man defines you. And if you're a man, you feel like a woman defines you. And this could be from, maybe for one thing, from society, because we've been conditioned to believe that way. There's these stigmas saying if you're single, you're going to be living with cats and dogs, and nothing good is going to come of it, and you can't get your value and self-worth from people. God didn't wire us that way. And yes, we are supposed to be married. Not supposed to be, but in relationships and whatnot. And I believe God has a purpose partner for everybody. But at the same time, if you don't know your value and worth when you're by yourself and when you're single, then how are you going to know your value and worth when you're inside of a relationship or married? Meaning, if you don't feel like you're anything now, you're not going to feel like, and you're going to feel the same way when you get in a relationship. That's why we get into abusive relationships. That's why we get into relationships that are toxic. That's why we're attracted to toxic people, because at the end of the day, we don't feel that we are that we're worth anything, that our value is in the toilet, our worth is in the toilet. We don't know who we are. We don't have an identity. And so we get into these relationships where we attract the same type of people who in some way are in damage. And then you get together with this damaged person and you just create more damage. And then at the end of it, the breakup, you're wondering what happened, but then you more than likely will jump into something else really quickly. And then the whole cycle repeats itself. So one of the reasons you could be miserable is because you're confused about your value and your self-worth by yourself. You don't believe that you're whole in God without anybody. And you don't believe that somewhere in there, you don't believe that God believes that you're whole by yourself. He made you an individual. We weren't born in this world with a partner. When your mom gave birth, she didn't give birth to you and your purpose partner. You know what I'm saying? We're not born. We're born as baby, single, um, and so therefore there's a path that we all travel as people, and even when we're in relationships, there's still a path that we travel that God has to utilize our gifts, our talents, the things that we need to discover about ourselves. So the reason why you're feeling that you're not fulfilled unless you're with somebody, or you're not validated unless you're with somebody, is because you haven't discovered or tapped into why God made you special. And so that's something you really need to look into, because maybe, if you get your focus off the fact that you're single and the stigma attached to it, that's a renewal of the mind, then maybe you wouldn't, you wouldn't be focused on it. You'd be focused on you. And that's the place where I come in. I coach from love. I coach from love of self and love with God. It's a relationship. So, when you're feeling that way, that you have to be attached to someone, just know that once you're even attached to that person, you're not going to feel any different. You're not going to think any different, because you're going to be looking for to that person to do something that God did not wire them to do, which is give you self-worth and give you self-validation and value yourself. And we're not going to find that in a person. We're only going to find it in God through love of what? Ourselves, and through our relationship with God. Okay, so another reason you could be miserable is because when it comes to being single, is you could be comparing yourself to others in your social group, to people on social media, or just people in your family. You could just be comparing yourself. And what I want to say about that is, anytime we compare ourselves to anything, we're setting ourselves up at a deficit. We're putting ourselves down here somewhere, because we're always going to see better. The grass is always going to look greener because we're not over on that grass. And it's not to say that they're miserable over where we're comparing ourselves to, but we're limited when we're comparing ourselves, because we're only thinking about what we think their lives are like your girlfriend's life. Everybody's married in my social circle except me. That could be one of the things that you're thinking. But you're not looking at the fact that, first of all, you're complete and whole in yourself. You have gifts and talents and visions that God wants to bring past through you. And yes, a purpose path partner is on that road, but because you can't even get off the focus of looking at, oh my gosh, they're married and I'm not, he can't do anything. You're blocking your own blessings, basically, is because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. And you're going to look for things to support what you believe. So if you're feeling miserable, or you're comparing yourself to your friend or your social group or social media, you're going to look for reasons to validate why you feel miserable. And all of them are really illusions of your mind. And you're saying, illusions of my mind, Tina, how can it be illusions of my mind? Because they are. They're things you're making up. You're thinking something is perfect. You're thinking they have something you don't. And that's all mind games. You're making yourself feel like you're at a deficit. You're bringing your own self down, because all that power that you have in you is working against you. Because why? You're comparing yourselves to others. You're thinking you have no worth or value unless you're in a relationship. So therefore, the power that you have in your life, because we're spiritual beings, you're taking it and you're ripping yourself. You're tearing yourself apart. You're tearing yourself down. So let's not get caught up in social media. That's an illusion anyway. Who's going to be on social media and post things that are bummers. Nobody wants to be bummed out, and maybe they do have, groups that are the bummer groups. But we're not on there to be bummed out, correct? So we're going to post the best of our lives on social media. But that doesn't mean because what you see on social media is the way somebody's living 24 hours in a day. Because you know what? Nobody has a perfect life and nobody doesn't go through things. But of course, we're not going to post on social media that, we're going through things because, again, we don't want to bum people out, right? So again, we're going back to the illusion of your mind. You're thinking, oh my gosh, she has such a wonderful life. He has such a wonderful life because they have this partner, they've got love, they've got this, that, and the other. And some of that might be true. But the thing is, you can have the same thing, but you're so busy comparing yourselves and looking for validity as to why you shouldn't be single, why you should be miserable because you're single, why there's something wrong with you because you're single. And I say to, that why question, which you should be asking about, why am I single, God? You should be saying, why not? You should be renewing your mind. Why not? What is it so bad about being single? There's nothing bad about it. And again, it doesn't mean that you're not open for love. What it means is that you're just not focused on your social status. So let's just not buy into the fact that we're single and that's all. And now I have to be miserable because society says I need to be miserable. I need to be miserable because I'm comparing myself to my social grouping or social media and everybody's happy except me. Now, doggone well, that don't even make any sense. That's your mind playing tricks on you. Our minds are powerful, guys. How you think is how that's what you create. What you think is what you create. This is why you have to be strong in the love for yourself and the love for God. And the only way you're going to do that is to disengage and to renew your mind and get on your purpose path. Once you get on your purpose path, you will be fulfilled because you'll be busy. Like, what's a purpose path, Tina? You'll be busy bringing your visions to pass. You'll be busy tapping into your talents and gifts. You'll be busy healing from past relationships that have damaged your way of thinking and what you think about love. You'll be busy helping people in your community. You'll be busy doing all these things, and then you'll look up and one day you'll still date. You'll still date because that's a part of purpose path. If you're healed, you'll still date. I am not a proponent of dating while you're unhealed. You say, how do I get healed, Tina? Well, it depends on what you have the damage in. Do you have damage from sexual abuse? Do you have damage from, domestic violence? Do you have damage just from a lot of breakups? You've just been breaking up and getting back with somebody else, breaking up and getting back with somebody else. Sometimes it just depends on how traumatic whatever you went through. Sometimes you need therapy and coaching. That's just a powerful tool, therapy and coaching. So it just depends on what you're dealing with. As far as that goes, but you can, on your purpose path, it's a journey in self-development. And you might go, oh, that sounds like a lonely path to be on. No, again, your focus is wrong. You have to renew your mind. There's nothing wrong with being alone because, to be honest, you never really are. God is always here. And he puts blessings before you. But if you're only focused on, I'm not married or I'm not in a relationship, then you're always going to be miserable anyway because of the way you're thinking about it. So you have to renew your mind, sweetheart, or sweet guy, sweet gal. You got to renew your mind. There's nothing wrong. Every aspect of your life that has been mapped out for you is a blessing. It's a blessing. The reason why you can't see the blessing is because somewhere in there, you let something else reprogram your mind to believe that you need all these things that society tells you, or what you call the world tells you, is to be successful. And one of those things is to be in a relationship. And again, I'm not against relationships. I'm very open to love and to dating, and I date and all that, but I do it from a healthy perspective. I celebrate where I'm at now. I celebrate my abundant life now. I celebrate my relationship with God now, because there's no point in being miserable in this world. God didn't make you for that. So I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to challenge you to better yourself, to look inward, to know that being single isn't a stigma. I want you to be successfully single as I am. I have no shame. I love men. I don't have a problem with being in a relationship, but it's just not my focus. Meaning, if there's a man I'm interested in and I want to date, or if I want to date multiple men or whatever, I'm going to do that. But at the same time, I'm enjoying my life where it is. I'm enjoying the path that I'm on right now. And that's what you have to do. You have to enjoy your life and every aspect of your life. When you're on your purpose path, you'll be creating. You're so busy creating. You're creating yourself. You're creating your multiple streams of income. You're following your creativity, your purpose. You're tapping in your talents and gifts. You're tapping into all that love that God has for you. If you're tapping in and discovering things about yourself into the power of what God has placed in you, are you kidding me? And you're so worried about being single and thinking it's a stigma? By the time you meet your purpose partner, and you will, if you get your mind right, if you get your mind renewed, you schedule a VIP session with me. I have a successfully single VIP package where you do have one-on-one access to me. It's an 8-week program. We go over modules. You have a weekly video. You have some homework. You have access to me over the phone for those desperate, oh my gosh, Coach Tina, I don't know what I'm going to do. I forgot what I was supposed to be, renewing my mind. There's all types of things around confidence, femininity, purpose. So, work with me one-on-one, and you will be successfully single. And as you're on your purpose path being successfully single, you're going to meet the love of your life, because you are healthy and whole, and you know your value and worth now. And you know you are healthy and whole, and you're celebrating your life because you know that God loves you, you love yourself, and there's every day is better. Every day is full of love, because you will have renewed your mind. And you won't be miserable anymore. And you won't be comparing yourself anymore. And you won't be thinking the grass is greener on the other side anymore. But you have to make the choice to schedule. First of all, it's a free discovery call. Just, click on the link in my information section on my channel. Click on the link and schedule your free discovery call, and we'll work from there. All right? I want you to have a purpose-driven day. I love you guys. I will see you again.